I should bring the yellow ones, right? The yellow binders?
Yeah.
This is unsettling, I don't like it.
No, it's like it used to be. I pushed it up.
Whoa.
Thank you.
Get bring the. How loud are we go? It's like they're back to the old days. Yeah, just use it for This is gonna be gone soon.
So what took away your job? Don't worry, she won't be around for long. Okay.
Older.
Yeah, we have to get more students in this classroom and get our classroom back, that's all.
Yeah, we should have a revolution.
Rabbi Majeski, I know that there was this decision to look at this. That's why it's valid.
Yeah, I stand with Leia. Hashtag I'm with her.
Okay, I guess we'll switch these later.
Or should I sit there? Thanks.
What, I wanna see.
Do you need one?
Yes, this is it.
You need it or you have
I
it?
have it.
Was the vibe smiling super big?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's more important. Oh, that's more important. Girls? Rabbi Majeski, do you have your light up shoes ready for Tova's wedding?
What? I didn't.
What we'll do a charity to get Rabbi Majeski light up shoes, light up Crocs.
I don't understand English today, I guess. I don't understand what you're saying.
Alright, well.
Can we have someone to explain? Okay, let me take the attendance. Get started. Okay. Chassidus. Leia is here, even though she's not happy with the room.
I think everyone's with Leia on that.
Chayeza is here, and Dora is here, and Chana is here. Dora is here. Okay.
I'm pretty sure I got wrong, but I erased one.
India?
Yeah. I don't know her last grade.
Candlelight.
You're probably good there.
Okay. Good morning. Okay, so we are on page 5. Well, first we'll do the Tilim. Kapitel Chaf. Let's say Tilim is Chus for Israel. We should see the most incredible miracles happening today, now, and the complete total victory of Eden and the total downfall of our enemies. Lam Natseach Mizmel David. Yanchu Adonai b'yom tzara. Segeb Hashem Elohei Yaakov. Yishlach Ezer Chamekodesh Amitzion Yisadeka. Yizkar Kolman Chesecha v'oiloscha Yidash Nesela. Yitin Lecha Chelvavecha v'chalatzoscha Yimalei. Narana B'Shuasecha V'Shem Eloheinu Nidger. Yimalei Adonai Kol Shalesecha. Ata Yedaiti Ki Yeshia Adonai Mashiach. Anehu Mishmei Kodshe. Begureis Yesha Yeminoi. Eila b'rechev ve'eila b'susim. Anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir. Eima korov v'nafolu v'anachnu kamnu v'nasoida. Adonai Yeshia HaMelech Yaneinu B'Yom Kareinu. Tzedakah. You're in the right place, Ali.
Okay.
You look like you're lost, but you're not. So in the previous chapter, he explained the difference between Rishoyim and Tzaddikim. Tzaddikim, their heart is in their hands, and Rishoyim, they are in the hands of their hearts. That's the Lashon Gemara. And what does it mean? It means that by Tzaddikim, the mind rules the heart, and by Rishoyim, the heart rules the mind. And the source of this is where the different elements come from. So Kedusha comes from Olam HaTikun. In the world of Tikkun, Chachma has influence on the Midas. In the world of Tohu, Chachma and Midas are disconnected. The Midas sort of have a life of their own. And Midas on their own are extremely intense, and they're unlimited, and as a result of that, one midah doesn't leave room for another midah, and then that's when they clash. So, applying this to ourselves and our avodah, this is the difference between the nefesh elokis and the nefesh habahamis. The nefesh elokis lives a life where the mind rules the heart, and everything that happens in terms of midas is guided and inspired and motivated by the mind. So therefore the midas will only go in the right direction. The midas will be limited, and the midas will leave room for a midah that's the opposite, in a way that they won't clash, and they'll be able to sort of work together, coexist. The midas of the nefesh habahamis are midas that function independent of intellect, just pure midas. And pure midas are intense, and pure midas don't leave room for another midah, and therefore this is a person that will clash, and a person that will allow himself to do things that are totally insane, doesn't make any sense. He's hurting himself or hurting his family, undermining his own life, but the taiva, the passion, the desire is so strong that that's what makes the decision. There's no seichel. If he would use a seichel, he would never do it. But the midas are so strong that the seichel has no impact, and that's the life of a nefesh habahamis. Based on that, we're going to go back to the original question: what is makel? Remember, we said there are 5 different weapons. One of them is a bow and arrow, one of them is a sword, and one of them is a makel, which means a club. So now I was going to explain what is the club. Because before he brought down that Hashem beats the Rishayim with a club like a person who beats a dog that attacks him. The only way to deal with him is with a club. So Hashem also beats the Rishayim with a club, but on a personal level. Hine is Ois Yud Zayin. A nefesh habahamis, in reference to the nefesh habahamis, Oleho Nemar. These are the words in Mishlei. They're actually alluding to the nefesh habahamis. It said, "B'dvarim le'yivaser eved." That with words you can't really rebuke a slave. Pirush Rabak Zal, the Rabak, which is one of the major commentators on Mishlei, Hine Mishu Eved Tavosei, someone who is a slave to his own teves, his own desires. La yikne b'musar b'dvarim. You can't get him with words. Avi yitztarech sheyakeu b'shevet. You have to hit him with a stick, or not necessarily a stick physically, but a stick figuratively. Behind this means words of rebuke, just words alone, are not sufficient. words of wisdom, words of understanding, if you communicate that to a person like that, this will not help him. That because you told him one thing or another and you explained him the value of Torah or how wrong it is to do the things that he has a desire to do, those words alone will not have any impact. Why? Because primarily this person is a midas oriented, not the Nefesh Bahamis, is a midas oriented force, entity. Everything is based on midas. And once the midah gets on fire, it's as if he lost his mind. It's as if the intellect doesn't exist. If that's the case, what benefit would it be to say words of chokhmah? He doesn't hear it, can't receive it, and he can't absorb it, and he can't react to it. When he says he doesn't hear it, he says even if he does hear what you're saying, and he a little bit absorbs, some of it goes in, that's when the midah never reached the point where it's so strong and is so intense. That we can say that he lost his mind. That at least he hears what you're saying, but it still doesn't change the midas, because the mayach doesn't rule over the heart. So basically there's two scenarios, one worse than the other. Now sometimes you say one better than the other. Sometimes you say one worse than the other. Doesn't they both mean the same thing? No, the difference is there's something that's good and there's something that's better. Here we're saying they're both bad, except one is bad and one is worse than the other. What are the two scenarios? One scenario is that his midas are so intense and the person is so wrapped up in his whatever anger or rage or hate or passion that he doesn't even hear what you're saying. It's as if the person lost his mind. That's the expression he uses. It's as if chas v'shalom something happened to him mentally and there's no one to talk to. The other possibility is that the midas are not so intense, and in that situation, he hears what you're saying, but still the midas will just move on their own because the midas are so strong that the mayach doesn't control them. So in both of these scenarios, there's no other alternative. But to hit him with a stick. That's why it says, just like a kelev. The way to stop a kelev from doing what they want to do is with a stick. A rush is like a kelev, which means kul lev, it's all the heart. And they're totally in the rishus of their heart. And that therefore Hashem uses a stick. That's when you're talking about evil Rishoyim out there in the world. But now applying this on a personal level, it's talking about the Nefesh HaKis and the Nefesh Bahamis. And every person on a personal level is by Nefesh HaKis, by Nefesh Bahamis. Is the Nefesh HaKis who needs to have an impact on the Nefesh Bahamis and control it and discipline it and change it. The Beil Achniya as Hamidus Rois, in order to subdue. Lachniya means to subdue the bad midas of the Nefesh Bahamis. Tzorech HaNefesh HaKis l'redoise b'makol davka. The Nefesh HaKis has to hit him with a stick. Shu'inyin hargoze v'hako. What is this hitting with a stick? Doesn't mean you have to take a stick every morning and beat yourself up. No. I know people do that to other people's Nefesh Bahamis, but I haven't seen people do it to their own Nefesh Bahamis. Of course, it's a figurative way of speaking, but what is it? And then the Nefesh Bahamis could become subdued. And then, when the person and the Nefesh Elokis is meditating during davening, it can have an effect on the Nefesh Bahamis. That Nefesh Bahamis should come to love Hashem. Shetilei Avodah Lakus. So let me first explain this, and then we'll read the words inside. What he's basically saying is, we know that the ultimate goal in davening is not just to flare up the fire that my Nefesh Elokis has naturally. Every Nefesh Elokis naturally has a fire of love for Hashem. Even people don't feel it, even people don't want it, even people who are against it. That's only as far as what you feel consciously. But subconsciously, every yid has a neshama, a Nefesh Elokis, and the Nefesh Elokis is on fire with love for Hashem. So when we daven, what we're really doing is the davening is a trigger that allows the fire that's there beneath the surface to come up to the surface. But we want to accomplish something greater in davening. And even the Nefesh Bahamis, that part of me which is animalistic, and that part of me which is only interested, to the core, all it cares about is Gashmis and itself. And Nefesh Bahamis is not evil. People confuse the term Nefesh Bahamis and Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara would use more when it comes to type of things that are evil. Nefesh Bahamis in itself, when you learn Tanya, we see Nefesh Bahamis is not evil. It's just the human part of me, the part of me that is, in a certain sense, similar to a behemoth. The desire to eat, the desire to sleep, the desire to have fun, entertainment, to be happy. All these things are normal desires. None of it is evil in any way, but it's just not godly. And we know that in Chassidus, anything that's not godly, by definition, is klipa. This is one of the key differences between learning Chassidus and when you learn other sources. When you learn in other sources, just a revealed part of Torah, there are three things. There's Kedusha, there's Tumah, the impurity, and then there are things which are neutral. It's not Kedusha, but there's nothing wrong with it. Like all the things I mentioned. Having fun, eating, sleeping, drinking, buying nice clothes, enjoying life. It's not Kedusha, but it's also not the opposite. In Chassidus, anything which is not godly, by definition, is klipa. That's the definition of klipa. Something which is not openly godly. It's lying. It's not the emes. It's already concealment. And of course, our avodah is to reveal the godliness in it by using it for Hashem. But the Nefesh Bahamis is not godly, and the Nefesh Bahamis naturally doesn't love godliness, but loves all the Gashmizik things. Yet the goal of davening is that even that part of me, that part of my identity, which is like a behemoth, should come to love Hashem. How's that even possible? And the answer is, it depends on what if a person with a certain thought process, if I think about those things, I can get my Nefesh Bahamis to come to love Hashem. To explain this in a simple way is like, think of it of Mitzrayim. I said this numerous times, but to talk about it again. You do it in Mitzrayim, let's say now, during the war, and you walk over to somebody and say, would you like to put on film? Probably none of you do that, but if I would walk over to somebody and say, would you like to put on film? And they're going to say, what's tefillin? You say, tefillin, there's a shalrosh and there's a shalyad. When you put on the shalrosh, you draw down chokhmah and bina of atzilus. When you put on the shalyad, you draw it into chesed and gvur atzilus, in malchus atzilus, zav atzilus. And that goes into bria, and then into yitzir, and then into asiyah, and then it goes into you down here. And the person's going to say, have a nice day, and all the best.
No, it's the best way. I wish you a good day.
If he says, wow, that is amazing, let me put it on right now, that means you touched his Nefesh Elokis, not his Nefesh Bahamis. The antenna of the Nefesh Bahamis doesn't respond to that. If you say that this is something we Jews do that has the power in it, it has the spiritual power in it to bring long life, to bring protection to our soldiers, and the person says, okay, here's my left hand, my right hand, let's put on tefillin. So, first of all, it also has to come from belief that what it says in Torah is true. But the fact that he's excited to do it, even the Rebbe Shabamis is excited to do it because this is going to bring protection and life to my brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael. So he has a feeling for it. And as we see, that's what's happening now. If a person, God forbid, has a situation and you tell them, let's write to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe writes back, check the mezuzahs of your house, and they don't have mezuzahs, and you explain to them that mezuzahs brings protection, they're excited to do it. Why? Not just the Nefesh Elokis, Nefesh Bahamas is excited. This interest that I should be protected comes from my Nefesh Bahamas. So there are certain thoughts about Torah, about mitzvahs, about Hashem, that this will stimulate even the Nefesh Bahamas in me. Which means simply if a person would stop and think about Hashem, if he thinks about Hashem on the highest levels, true, only Nefesh Elokis gets excited about that. But if you think about Hashgacha Pratis and you start thinking about things that happened in my life, or things that happened just yesterday, that I just happened to meet someone and he happened to be there, and it happened to turn out that this is really going to bring me a big benefit in my parnasa, and it's really, to me, I see clearly that this is someone above was leading this, that we too should meet, and all these benefits should come out of it. In other words, he's thinking of Hashgacha Pratis, how it helped him. So the Nefesh Bahamas in me gets excited. That's the purpose of davening. But this Nefesh Bahamas that he just described is the kind of Nefesh Bahamas you can talk to the wall. You can talk till you're blue in the face. You can explain whatever you want. The Nefesh Bahamas won't respond and won't budge. Because Nefesh Bahamas is so wrapped up in its passions. Like you said before, it's kule midas. He doesn't even hear what you're saying. When you speak, it doesn't have any impact. He doesn't even hear it. And if he does hear it, it doesn't register. When he said before, it doesn't affect the midas, it means because it really doesn't register. Sometimes you hear things and it doesn't register. Sometimes people have experience where they hear something and it didn't register. Sometimes a very exciting thing, sometimes chas v'shalom the opposite. And at a certain point, something happens and boom, there's an expression in Hebrew. How does it go? The coin fell, something like that. Asiman, nafal. You don't know any Hebrew. How would you know? There's a certain moment, the aha moment, as they call it. Oh, I just realized what this means. It just hit me. Radli Asimon. What does that mean?
Like, I got it.
I got it. That's it. It took her a minute to get it, but she finally got it. She heard my Hebrew. She didn't know what I was talking about. So when the Nefesh Bahamas is so wrapped up in his passion, he doesn't even hear. So you have to do something which is not necessarily seichel, but something that sort of shakes up the Nefesh Bahamas. When you shake up the Nefesh Bahamas, it's like, oh, okay, and now the Nefesh Bahamas listens, and it's possible to absorb what you're saying, and it could enter. It's almost like it needs shock treatment, that he should pay attention. And once he pays attention, they tell this story that somebody went to the marketplace to buy a donkey. And this guy is there selling a donkey. And he says, I want you to know that this donkey is the most amazing donkey in the world, that he listens to everything you say. Whatever you tell him, if you're his boss, he'll listen to everything you say without any effort. Donkeys are not always like that. So he got very excited. How much is it? Oh, expensive, because this is like an exceptional donkey. Anyway, he made a decision. He's going to pay a lot of money, finally get himself a donkey that he won't be having all this aggravation. The donkey will listen to everything he says. Wakes up the next morning, tells the donkey, come, we're going to work, doesn't budge. And he tries to get him to move, doesn't budge. Finally, he schlepped him and he's going straight to the marketplace to give it right back. He's a liar, he's a deception. I paid all this extra money because it's an amazing donkey. Turns out that it's a donkey like all other donkeys. Anyway, he comes to the guy and he says, your donkey is not what you said it is. Look, I couldn't get it to move. Look, even now, I can't get him to move. I can't get him to come from outside into your store. So he walks over with a stick And he gives him a zetz in the back, and the donkey starts moving. He says, "Oh, is that?" No. The stick is just that he should listen. Once he hears you, then he starts doing everything you tell him to do. That's the Nefesh Bahamas. Before you give him a shock treatment, he doesn't hear what you're saying. He's immersed in what he's doing. He doesn't even hear what's going on outside, meaning he doesn't hear anything logical, intellectual, can relate to that. He's too busy, too wrapped up, and too invested in his passion. Something happens, or you do something which shakes him up, and then he's able to listen. And once he listens and you tell him the right thing, it could have an impact on it. And that's the idea of hitting with the stick, figuratively speaking. Question is, what is that thing that shakes him up? Okay, so we'll soon see. There's something called Perik Shira. The last few years, there were people who made a big to-do out of it, and that is that the Gemara, the Medrash says that everybody in the world sings songs of praise to Hashem, even animals. And every animal has its song that it sings. So there's a Medrash that tells us what this animal sings, what that animal sings. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there are people who printed brochures with that Medrash translated in English, and you read it, and then it's supposed to be a sgula for something that if you read it every day, it's going to bring this bracha or that bracha. But basically, you see what each animal sings to Hashem. How can an animal sing to Hashem? So I think you know the answer by now already. It means that every animal in the world, every species in the world, and every individual animal has an angel that's in charge of it. And it means this is what the angel in charge of dogs sings. The angel in charge of lions, what he sings. The angel that's in charge of eagles, that's what he sings. So it says like this, Hashir shel klovim. What's the song that the dogs sing? It's the pasuk where it says, Boyu nishtachu v'nichro. Come, let's bow and kneel before Hashem. So it says in the Medrash, which is called Yalkut, Rabbi Shaya Tamidish Reb China ben Deisa. Rabbi Shaya, who was a student of Reb China ben Deisa, he fasted Pei Ches Tainyes. He fasted 88 fast days. I think it means he fasted 88 fast days to know the answer to this question. It's a very deep subject. And he said, Klovim, dogs, the ksibu, klovim azei nefesh, that klovim are azei nefesh, they have azus, they have audacity, they have a dog. Yizku leima shira zu, they should have the schus to say such a shira. And I guess this is probably similar to what he said before, that Rishoyim are compared to dogs. And if they're so far away, they're so low, then why would they have this chus to recognize Hashem and to sing such a lofty song? Come, let's bow down and kneel before Hashem. So the Inyan is the Isma the Shabbat Shmeis Perik Yud Gimel. That's the source. Davar Acher El Pare El Mitzrayim. It's talking about Pare in Mitzrayim. So that's an example. Pare was in Russia. That he did things which were evil. He tortured and tormented and persecuted the Yidden, killed their children, and did all their horrible things. So Omer Reb Levi, Mashal Melech, Mashal of a king, Shoyle Pardes. He had an orchard. He planted in the orchard trees that didn't bear any fruit and trees that bared fruit. So his servant said to him, what kind of benefit do you have from these trees that have no fruits? Until try to remember the end of the mashal. But the nimshal is that the Rishoyim lived a wicked life, an evil life. The hardest thing about watching people that are evil is that not only they're doing evil, but they're actually enjoying it. They're having a good time, and they're proud of themselves, and they're basically saying, you see, that there is no justice, and there is no God, and nobody's really doing anything. We can do whatever we want, and we're having a great time. when they're judged in Gehenna and they say, really, Hashem is the true judge and he's judging us honestly, and this is what we deserve because of what we did, and they're recognizing Hashem, that's also a way of praising Hashem. In other words, Gehenna is a place where it's also godliness revealed, that because of doing wicked, evil things, you see that there is the opposite of good as a result of that. So basically, what it's saying is just like Hashem's praise comes from Gan Eden, that the tzaddikim are saying Hashem is the you can come in, do what you need, get what you need. That Hashem is the creator of the universe, and therefore by serving Him and by davening to Him and by doing mitzvahs, we have all the reward, and that's Gan Eden. And now we see the real depth of Hashem, the greatness of Hashem. So too, Gehenna is a place where people who did the opposite have to go through this painful process. So they too recognize Hashem, but unfortunately in the opposite direction, through the negative. So the same is with Rishayim. Zeh hakilas oila mehem, that when we say that the Rishayim, which are compared to the dogs, they praise Hashem, that's after Shaloko v'kiblas onsham. That means after they receive their punishment. And then they realize and recognize Hashem, then they too will praise Hashem. So now he's going to say how this applies to the Nefesh Bahamas. That once the Nefesh Bahamas gets the club, figuratively speaking, then, which is, like I said before, something happens, which is like a certain strong experience that shakes up the Nefesh Bahamas. And when the Nefesh Bahamas is shook up, then it hears Hashem, and it hears what the Nefesh Hakis is saying, and it too could become involved in loving Hashem and praising Hashem. So this is connected to something in Tanya. I thought I made copies. Let me just see if I did. I think I did make copies. Second. Yeah, so it's these pages. If I have enough pages, yeah, I made enough copies. Let's give this out. So this is chapter 28, chapter 29 rather. It's a chapter that we don't get that far in Mechon, in classes. You only get it in Chitas, and in Chitas sometimes you do it properly and sometimes not. So we'll do it now. Thank you. Of course, this is the middle of a Perek, and Perek 29 is in the middle of what's going on in Tanya before. We'll start from the part that's on page 394, where it says Adar 1. Adar Aleph. You see where it is? 394. So we're looking in Lessons in Tanya, page 394, where it says Adar Aleph. So what the Alter Rebbe said before is that the Nefesh Bahamas is really, all it is arrogance. It's like a balloon, just air. And because there's air in the balloon, it goes up higher and it's above everything else, but there's nothing there, just air. And all you do is you put a little pin in and the air goes out, the balloon goes down because there's really nothing there. Nefesh Bahamas is also just full of himself, full of arrogance, and therefore it stands up to the Nefesh Elokis. Really, the Nefesh Bahamas should be totally bottled to the Nefesh Elokis. But it's the arrogance of the Nefesh Bahamas that allows him to stand up to the Nefesh Elokis and try to conceal godliness, try to interfere with my serving Hashem. How dare you think even doing such a thing? But that's Nefesh Bahamas, it's Gaiva. So Alter Rebbe explained that if a person meditates on one thing or another thing, this will bring the Nefesh Bahamas to be humbled. How to humble the Nefesh Bahamas. So now he continues. The longer he reflects on these matters of what he said before, both in his own thoughts and by delving deeply into Sfarim, which speak about these matters, what it does, it causes the person causes him that his heart within him will be broken and he'll be shamed, despised in his own eyes, like it says, so the point is not that I feel nothing. The main point is what we're aiming at is that the klipa in me should be put down, because the klipa, its whole force is just arrogance, and an arrogant person, when you tell them and you show them that they're nothing and you don't regard them as anything, this brings it down to the ground. It humbles its haughtiness and pride, and there, the fact that it is able to exalt itself and be so arrogant to rise above the divine soul of the Nefesh Elokis and to block it, which we said before, that's like something which is inconceivable. How could Nefesh Bahamas, so to speak, have the chutzpah to stand up? Like it says about Amalek, that Amalek knows who Hashem is. You have to remember learning about it. Amalek knows the greatness of Hashem, knows that Hashem is infinite, that Hashem is the creator, that Hashem can do anything, and yet Amalek rebels against Hashem. There's nothing else you can say except for this is the height of chutzpah, the greatest kind of chutzpah that can possibly exist. Knowing who you're dealing with, and knowing who you're standing up to, and going against. You can take whatever you need. Yeah. You're not going to get a ticket, don't worry. So basically, this is all about humbling the Nefesh Bahamas, because it's only the height of chutzpah and the height of arrogance that the Nefesh Bahamas could stand up and try to block the Nefesh Elokis. I mean, of course, think of it, Begashmis, if somebody would stand up, let's say somebody would walk into 770 and Chaz Shalom, be disrespectful towards the Rebbe. Everybody would, how could someone be like that? I mean, disrespectful towards your friend is very disrespectful towards the Rebbe. The greater you understand the greatness of Hashem and the greatness of Nefesh Elokis, the more inconceivable it is. How could the Nefesh Bahamas stand up? And the answer is arrogance. So what we need to do is bring it down. So then he says the next piece, and this is what we're talking about in this Maimon. V'gam yar imale b'kirash, he should thunder against the Nesitracha with a strong and raging voice in order to humble it. As our sages say, there's actually a Gemara that says, La'olam yargiz